when we say Blasian is black, we're saying that Blasian is part of the black experience. The black experience includes Blasian. The black experience includes Blasian. The black experience includes Blasian, which would be black and Asian. And in some cases, it happened when the military sent blacks to different areas in Asia. And you'll have Blasian babies, black and Asian babies. Might be black and Filipino, might be black and Chinese, might be black and Vietnamese, might be black and Indian. And the term black may be black and white. So Code Keepers, we're back with another interesting conceptual discussion. So, normally on the Get On Code platform, particularly the Get On Code show, we talk about ways that we can empower ourselves. We talk firmly about black empowerment. Well, we had an interesting movement when we did the show with Dr. J. Nichols. And in that show, Dr. J. Nichols, some of her family is Filipino. The other part of her family is foundational Black American to a degree. All right. To a degree. So we discussed her experience with Black and Asian. And in her case, Filipino. There's a lot of different types of the Asian culture. So we had Kamala Harris as a part of the thumbnail, and we showed Kamala Harris. We showed Saweetie, the rapper. The rapper Saweetie, right? Tap, tap, tap in. What was, Sweetie, the rapper. So, she's Blasian as well. I think her family is also Asian and Black, her pedigree. And I mentioned Foxy Brown, and I found out later that Foxy Brown may be she might be a Trinidadian. I thought her mother was Filipino, so I may have been, one of the code keepers corrected me on that. So, long short of it, today we're going to kind of go through some of the feedback that we've gotten on that particular show, Blasian is Black. So, let's check out what people said. All right, so let me start off by playing a little bit of the episode. I'm starting off with playing a little bit of the episode. Somebody asked me the other day, hey, do you think Kamala Harris is Black? And I said, Blasian is Black. And that kind of shut down the conversation. Yeah. Now, I know from a historical position, Southeast Asia has an African presence, an ancient African presence. And there are other places, throughout Asia. China has a very ancient African presence. Japan has an ancient, very ancient African presence. The Philippines have an ancient, very ancient African presence. Although, in the Philippines, we also have the more contemporary Black presence that happened through the military when some of the Black soldiers started going to the Philippines and having children with the Philippine women there, and that kind of leads to you. So Blasian is Black. Talk a little bit about that, because you have a really intriguing experience that Foxy Brown had, that other people have had, and now it's becoming a central conversation in the ethers. Yeah, so I had that conversation, and I talked about how there's this term Blasian. And so on the thumbnail for this show, I had Kamala Harris. And so interestingly enough, not everyone, but a lot of the comments were based upon Kamala Harris rather than Dr. J. Nichols, who is the person that we were interviewing. And Dr. J. Nichols has a really great book out called Black Women on Board. And she talks about Claudia Hampton and some of the things that Claudia Hampton had to do to address some of the racism that was in the school system. And that was the crux of the whole argument, that, that Donna J. Nichols had an experience being both Black and Asian. But we had a lot of comments. Okay, so let's go right to the comments. The comments are pretty interesting. Let's go right to the comments, okay? So let's say Jamaican American is not African American. Okay, so that's the first comment. Jamaican American is not African American. And there were 4 replies. One person said, but it's Black. Black is a worldwide term and she's American. Y'all splitting hairs for no reason. All right. Another, people who have been in this country for 400 years are called African American. The newer immigrants are Jamaican American, Nigerian American, Congolese American, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to have a way to differentiate the two. And I really want to salute that comment, because when a Nigerian comes over to the United States, although they might be Black, they're Nigerian. And so they want to connect themselves to their land base or their cultural land base, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, we should celebrate that. We should really celebrate that. So when a Trinidadian comes over or a Puerto Rican comes over, because there are Puerto Ricans that look like me. I've been to PR. I've been to Louisa. I've been to Old San Juan. I've been to Catalina, so I know, and y'all know too. So don't trip. Okay, so I like this comment because although the term Black doesn't tie back to a landmass, some might argue that the term Black connects you with some level of African ancestry. And that can be true in the historical sense, could be true in the contemporary sense, but it doesn't tie the same way a person who says that I'm Honduran, I come from the Black area in Honduras, it doesn't have the same effect. All right. So when we use the term Black, we're really talking about Indigenous, people of African descent. You can use the term Moorish. You can use the term copper colored. You can, the first people on Turtle Island. You can use all these terms, and the term Black is overarching. It's not a political term. It's not a land mass tying term. It's just another imperfect identifier. So look, when I say an imperfect identifier, I'm a father. But by saying I'm a father, it doesn't mean how many children I have. If I say I'm a father of 2, that doesn't tell you that I've also been a father figure for multiple people before I had children and after I've had children. So all these imperfect identifiers, people set trip over, and I'm not one of them. But I do like that comment, so wanted to salute that comment. We do need to, salute where we have our roots from, and we do need to differentiate the two. So if you're like me, you might say I'm foundational Black American. I'm ADOS, American descendants of slaves, African American descendants of slaves, ADOS, whatever, it's AADOS or ADOS, or foundational Black American. And foundational Black American implies that you have some connection to the people that we might consider Black, who were here before the Pilgrims, who were here before Columbus, who may have been here with or before what we call the Native Americans. All right. And it includes those of us who were taken from Africa here to the United States during the enslavement period. So the foundational Black Americans includes those two, because foundationally, we're the ones who changed the policy. Foundationally, we're the ones who changed the society that everybody benefits from now, right? Jim Crow, enslavement period, Reconstruction period, all the periods that really were changed because of the treatment or the fortitude of people like my ancestry. That's the foundational part of America. So we use the term foundational Black Americas, and people say you're divisive. Well, when you say you're, Cuban American, you're not being divisive, are you? So we shouldn't consider ourselves being divisive if we describe ourselves as foundational Black Americans. Let's go back to the comments. The comments are interesting. All right. This one says, definitely. Oh, I said this. Well, one of the people on the team said that. All right. So I'm not going to read the comments from the team. Let me see. Mohammed Goldstein. That's interesting. Black is not a worldwide term. It's wholly American. But I see your point. I just think there should be a differentiator between blacks who've been here for 300 and 400 years and those who've been here for longer, and the new guys who come here and try to usurp their experiences. Okay. Now, this commenter said, this is a dumb conversation. The outstanding question is, what are her policies? Once again, this whole conversation wasn't about Kamala. She was just referenced and used in the thumbnail. So this tells me that this butthole didn't even listen or watch the content. They just saw the thumbnail. And you know what? I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I shared with them that, truthfully, when people leave comments, some people, the greatest amount of people who leave comments are those who see the thumbnail and just respond to the thumbnail, because in their understanding, the thumbnail should be or is connected to the content. So they don't need to watch the content. They can just respond to the thumbnail. And that's true. You can. So that's the greatest amount of people who responded by leaving comments. The second are those who watch a little or the entirety of the content and are triggered by something that is stated. So they may be compelled, led, or triggered, and they leave a comment that then right then and there. When I say something that they agree with, that they ashe, that they amen, or that they're not unsure of, or that they totally disagree with, at that point they leave a comment. And I might have said something different later in the show that would have nullified their comment, but they responded right then and there, right? And the third are those who watch the entirety of the content, the entirety of the content, and then leave a comment, right? So most people are going to leave a comment based upon the thumbnail, and that's kind of what happened here. All right. Whether Blasian is black or not depends on the consensus of people who are ambiguously black. All right. I'm sorry, unambiguously black. You don't get to decide for all of us based on your personal opinion. And true, we're giving opinions here. We didn't lay down the law. You know, that's cool. So my truth is cool. Lady Hotfire, black culture, black experience. Wish she had described that we're not a monolith. I like this comment. One other thing I want to say, though, is that the statement that you hear a lot of us use, we're not a monolith. That sounds like a great descriptor, but upon further inspection, you'll see that that's really power usurping. Monoliths have a power that non-monoliths don't. If I'm driving the car, right, and I got, the wife, the kids in the back, and I was like, hey, you want to go to McDonald's? Now, as a monolith, if everyone else says no, as they should, there's power. But if someone's like, I don't know, what about Burger King? Does McDonald's have this? I do like their fries, but I don't like that it's so fattening. So all this conversation, and I'm like, I'm going to go where I want to go. I'm just going to take them there, and they can, they can work it all out. So when they acted as a monolith, the family had power. When we're not a monolith, then they lost their power to compel change. And that happens on a larger scale as well. That's not just in that small setting. It happens on a larger scale. When we act as a group, we have more power. Now, her point wasn't about power. Her point was like black culture, black experience, we're not a monolith. Her point wasn't dealing with power, but the Get On Code platform, the Our Black Empowerment platform, is all about empowerment. So we're going to look everything through a lens of empowerment. So I hope that makes sense. But she looks cute anyway, and I like the comment. All right. The next one, this doctor is even backwards. Filipino is a nationality connected to a land, constitution, language, and flag, respectively. Okay, that's true. Where is the reputation for the black side? There is none, because that ish don't exist. No land, no language, or flag to represent such. And to be honest, I don't disagree with the person's point, because black is not referring to a landmass. And so you have goofies who will say things like, look, let me show you the truth. If I say something, I want you to tell me where the country's from, where they represent, who their people are. So Chinese, China; Japanese, Japan; German, Germany; French, France; black. And those goofies think they made something, or said something that was profound. That's dumb. Because if I said European, well, what's a European language? There's a lot of differing. There's you got European languages would be most of the Latin languages. So you're looking at French, you're looking at German, you're looking at English, you're looking at Spanish, you're looking at Portuguese, you're looking at Italian. So you see how this argument really kind of falls apart, right? India. Well, if we use the term Indian, there's a lot of different people under that. And there's not an Indian language. They might speak this, they might speak that, depending upon their country, depending upon their region, depending upon their city. That argument falls apart. It's a dumb argument. A lot of my MST brothers, and I love Moorish Science Temple. I love the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'm a student of the writings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, particularly when the Prophet says, our plight will change when we change ourselves. Our plight will change when we change ourselves. Salute to the memory, the words, the legacy, and the movement of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But I run into new converts into the MST, or people who were influenced by them, who come up to me with a lot of stupidity. And it is what it is. I love the brothers. I love the movement. I hate dumb arguments. And people think that when I say I hate dumb arguments and I'm putting them down, some of them are regurgitating what they've heard, what they've learned. I've been around some real strong, solid Moorish Science Temple brothers. Frederick L., who used to be on the Our Black Empowerment platform. Solid brother. Put in work on the community. Does the stuff. And knows the teachings, right? Kenneth L., who's been on the platform a couple of times. Solid brother, knows the teachings, does the work, love, support the brother. He's done some things I don't agree with, and we part ways on certain issues, but we also stand firm on informing and empowering our people. Let us proceed. All right. This is interesting. Okay, I will say that I did not watch the whole video, and the reason that they made that comment was, this is going back to the Filipinos and nationality connected to a land, a constitution, language, and a flag. I said, when you see the full interview, you'll see that she makes the same point that your comment makes. And so he says, I will say that I did not watch the whole video, but it's incumbent upon us to leave European thought and nomenclature and exomes alone and stop making the lie palpable. Interesting. I like that. Right. All right. Yeah. This person says his wife is native Filipina and there's no black representation. Well, for that, brother, you got to go to the parts of the island where the Aeta, the Agata people live. Those are the blacks in the Philippines. Been there before the Polynesians, the Chinese, and the others that make the mixture of the Philippine Islands in Spanish, that make the mixture of people in the Philippine Islands. But the first people in the Philippines, the Agata people, the Aeta people, the Negritos, they call themselves, and they were described as Los Negritos, the little blacks, the diminutive Africoids, right? So those were the first people in the Philippines. Maybe I'll show a picture here of the first people in the Philippines. Let me see if I can find one very quickly. I think I should be able to find one. All right, doing a quick Google search, the first people in the Philippines. I didn't say first black people. I said first people in the Philippines. The Negritos who arrived, 30,000 years ago. The Negritos are thought to be related to the first migrations of Homo sapiens out of Africa. Let's see if we can find some pictures of Los Negritos. All right, so here are some pictures of the Negritos. You can see that they are very what we would consider Africoid in their presentation, right? They're dark skinned. Some of them have afros, right? Let's see if we can make this picture a little larger. I made my point. I made my point. Okay, this is the picture that I remember seeing when I first started studying the African presence throughout the world. Now I know that some would say that really didn't happen. I'm not going to get into that, but these are Los Negritos, the first people in the Philippines. Now, yeah, so Dr. Rock 9775, interesting point. The next user, and it's funny, whenever you see the people that just say user, you know that, they ain't really for it. What has she done? What is her plans? It should be, what are her plans? I'll wait. But the truth is, we do need to wonder what the plans are. If referring to VP Harris, who's a presidential candidate currently, we do need to ask that. We do need to ask that. All right. All right, so this one goes back. If you can't tell whether you're dealing with an FBA, you're not an FBA. This is the definition of being a tether. So for those who are uninitiated, the term tether is a term that you start hearing in some of the foundational Black American pro circles, the pro foundational Black American circles that distinguish between foundational Black Americans and the Blacks who came later. And they jokingly, maybe embracingly refer to them as tethers sometimes because they're tethered or tied back to their landmass. So I'm Black, but I'm really Nigerian. I'm Black, but I'm really Haitian. I'm Black, but I'm really Puerto Rican. Yo soy Boricua, Afro-Boricua, pero yo soy Boricua. And I celebrate them all. I love them all. I love PR. Had a great time when I was there in PR. Had a great time in Panama. Panama is the bomb. I had an excellent time in Panama. Hey, look, if you really want to understand the world, you got to travel. So I would say, hey, go out to Panama. I loved it. Had a great time in Colón. And they have an area in Panama I got a chance to visit. That's one of the areas that has the Black Jesus statues. El Cristo Negro. Yeah, the El Cristo Negro. So they have a statue of Jesus. They bow to and pray to that. And this is not the entirety of people in Panama. This is just a little area, and people go there. The true believers go there. I'm not talking about all Panamanians do this. All right. Okay. Let's go back. I love this. All right. Indian and Irish can make you a Jamaican, which she is, but not Black. Jamaicans have many ethnicity. Should be ethnicities. If you ask them to describe her, they would describe her as an Indian woman. Well, okay. That's cool. That's cool. In Jamaica, it was a little different. It had that kind of a one-drop rule too, where if you had a little bit of Black in you, you were Black, unless you had Indian in you, and then you were Indian. If you were Indian, it's different. It's different in Jamaica. Jamaica is different. So that's an interesting point. So look, the comments were really interesting. The comments were really interesting, and I appreciate all those who left comments. So let me come down to the point for today. The point for today is really kind of simple. The point for today is really kind of simple. It's time for a change. It's time for a change. The change that needs to happen is focusing on empowerment. So when we talk about empowerment, very often we have to talk about having a large group to make things move and change. So when we talk about Black is a overarching thing, and it includes foundational Black Americans. It includes those who were immigrant Blacks, right? It also includes those who might be multi or biracial or triracial, however they want to look at themselves. That's part of the Black experience as well. Because in America and in a lot of parts of the world, if you were Black and something else, they still treated you as if you were Black, and we still hugged you and loved you and rocked with you. We might get on your case a little bit. You like bright, damn near white. We might have done that. Or, you blue Black. You blue Black. We may have done that. We, of course, we joke on each other. But that Black experience included, and I tell you, I'm kind of nervous here because there's this piece right here. I cut myself, and that's where it's kind of healed, and it looks like a big booger. It's embarrassing. The Black experience includes Blasian, which would be Black and Asian. And in some cases, it happened when the military sent Blacks to different areas in Asia. And you'll have Blasian babies, Black and Asian babies. Might be Black and Filipino, might be Black and Chinese, might be Black and Vietnamese, might be Black and Indian. And the term Black may be Black and white. So when we say Blasian is Black, we're saying that Blasian is part of the Black experience. We're not saying that so-and-so is foundational Black American. We're not saying that they're quote-unquote African American. And, let me go back to that, because the term African American started in the early 1900s. Some of the new converts to MST who got a lot of garbage information are going around saying that Jesse Jackson created this term African American. No, it was developed before Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson may have popularized it, but he didn't create it. And that's an important distinction. Back to the point. Black is a engulfing experience. It might be genetics, it might be a lot of different things. But Blasian is part of that experience. So Blasian is Black. Now, should we say Kamala Harris is Black? I don't care where you go with that. Don't care. What I do care when it comes to politics is that we push our agenda first. So, we need to be able to say that this is what we expect of our elected officials. And more importantly, we need to make negotiations with these candidates before they become the elected officials. When they become elected officials, it's really kind of too late. So for those people saying stupid stuff, and I'm not saying that people are stupid, but the line is stupid. Let her get in office first, and then she'll... No. We have all the years in America as proof that doesn't happen. Powerful people make negotiations with elected officials or candidates prior to them getting in office. And while they're in office, they push those agendas. And so, Blasian is Black. Simply put, Blasian is part of the Black experience. Stop arguing about silly stuff. What we should focus on was the policies, if we're talking about Kamala Harris. If we're not talking about Kamala Harris, and we're not talking about politics, if we're talking about who should come to the cookout, that's fun. It might be a little silly, it might be a little trite, but it's fun. It's fun conversation. Everyone who's part of the Black experience could come to the cookout. Blasian is Black. Not foundational Black, not FBA, not ADOS. Should we set Trip off of this stuff? No, we should focus on empowerment. So, beloved, we must focus on empowerment. We must focus on empowerment. Get on code, stay on code, teach the code, become the code, and we love you.